Hey everybody, welcome back to step 2 of the big bathroom renovation project. I want to show you how this bathtub turned out. It is excellent. I figured out what to do about the bottom part. I waited a couple of days and I thought it through, and I just kept thinking, what am I going to use for a filler strip where that drywall ended? Now, if you didn't watch the previous part, you kind of need to go back and watch it so you know what's going on. It's always hard to go back and renovate over somebody else's mistakes without having to do a total tear out. I've got 3 layers of wallboard behind me all around the original bathtub. So it gradually kept coming in towards the bathtub more and more, and I was not going to rip this out. The Rust-Oleum tub and tile refinishing kit saved me, and it worked perfectly. I'm going to slice in a couple pictures here and show you. My daughter also is doing this project at her place the same time as me, and we hadn't even talked to each other and knew that this was going on. She has an avocado green bathtub and kitchen sink. She had a little trouble with some floor finish or bath mat finish that had been on her tub, and she did have to go back and sand that and get it off, but I know in the end it turned out really good and she's super happy with it. It's amazing what you can do with paint. It's amazing what you can do with faux finishes. I've got this countertop covered because I didn't want to get anything on it. I decided to go through. I brought in the heat gun to help me with the floor removal. Now I got the last of that linoleum backing off, and the only way I was getting it was on a hot day or with the heat gun. I got it up to 500 and 800 degrees and it worked perfectly. And I can tell you, see all these little curly hairs from the humidity? It is hot in here. I love the way the countertop worked out. This is 2 coats of the hickory gel stain on the bottom and 1 coat of the chestnut over the top. Now I did get a little stainless, and I'll give you a tip. If you're switching colors and you're having any trouble with your gel stain reactivating when you're going over it with multiple coats, you have to let it dry for 6 to 8 hours. And I've been letting mine dry for about 24 hours in between, just with the timing of my projects and drive time getting back and forth. But there was one little spot, I tested it with my finger to touch it and see if it was dry, and the next time I coated, the stain did not want to stick to that spot. So I hit it with a little dry sander, put a nice coating of gel stain over it. After that was dry, I put a coat of shellac spray-on coating over the top, and that solved all my problems. Then I was able to do a full coat and any little touch-ups that needed done, and it is looking great. I don't know if I'm going to stick with white on the vanity. I'm kind of hemming and hawing now that I've learned about these gel stains, and I'm kind of thinking about going with a gray. So I originally had this gray floor tile picked out, and it's 24 by 24 square. When I did a mock-up layout of the floor, it was going to be really hard cutting this small section and not having it look funny, because this little cove here is about 28 inches. So here's the solution I found for my flooring. As you know, I'm doing all this work on my own. It's all DIY. We want to be frugal, we want to save money, but we want to get the job done, and I don't want it to look like a tacky homemade job. So I found these Designer's Image self-sticking, no wax finish floor tiles at Menards. These are 12 by 24, and it is going to work out with my flooring situation really well because I can just do portion tiles over here on the sides, and this can be used with or without grout. I'm going to do it with grout because it's going to give it a higher end look. And everything I can do to help this little 1950s house along, to do better on the sales market, I'm going to do it. And I will tell you, these flooring projects are not good to have with kids around because I've got sharp knives and tools around. I'm on my own. They're all home with their dad. I've got a linoleum knife for cutting any edges. I'm going to be taking off my baseboard to make sure that I can get that tucked right up at the side and not have to do any caulking or pour it around the edges. I've got a vinyl flooring cutter here that does up to 12 inches, so it is just great for cutting these. I've got a straight edge for any of them that I have to cut a long section here along the wall. I even, on the advice of our friend Tom Silva at this old house, years and years watching him doing flooring, looked up about a Japanese pole saw. So this is a dovetail saw, it's reversible, and this will help me undercut any of the door trim around the edges so I can slip the tile underneath it without actually having to cut it. Without actually having to take it off, I won't have to do any trim alterations that way. And this was about $10. It's going to be a time saver in the end. Okay, so now that I've got my tile floor laid down, I wanted to box this in before I started doing any grouting and before I do any caulking. I think it'll help simplify the project a little bit. Now I had some stock 1x4s on hand, so I just used the Sawzall. You can use a skill saw, you can use a table saw, you can use a hand saw. Whatever you need to do to get this cut, you can get it done. So as you can see, this vanity is original. It's from the 50s, and it was a custom built job. So I didn't want to just do a tear out. We are doing a little bit of a money saving thing here, and I've never liked that the pipes were exposed. I lived here and had a small curtain on a tension rod here, and I'm not a fan of curtains, especially in the bathroom, because of splatter. So I've just made a box on all four sides, and I just kind of roughly measured it and marked them off so that I can go through and run a bead of caulk here all along the front when I'm done, and still have a little bit of room to put a face on all of this, because I want to bring it out to match the original cabinet. The purpose of boxing this in is so that I can have a bottom of the cabinet instead of just opening the cabinet and having the flooring. So we're going to put a thin sheet of Luan in here, and I'm going to put a center support also, just to make sure that there's no flex in the bottom. That is some hard wood. Boy, that was a near bad disaster. I smashed my toe 2 weeks ago. I don't need to smash my thumb. This is like 100-year-old barn wood. It doesn't want to go. Well, we are well into part 2 of the bathroom renovation, remodel, whatever you want to call it. I am so happy to be this far along. I've got the tiles all laid down on the floor. I'm going to grout today. My plan is to get the sink in place. I'd like to get the tub enclosure in. I've done all my sanding on all the drywall. I was on the fence whether I wanted to paint before it was in or not. I'm going to tile around the edge. It's only 58 inches tall, and my old one was 60 inches tall, and I could not find in stock a 60-inch tall bathtub surround anywhere. So right now my idea is to take a half sheet of my tiles that I'm going to use for my backsplash and do a decorative border around the top, possibly even along the sides. I haven't really decided on that yet or not, but it's going to start to take shape. I'm so excited, and I can kind of see how my colors are going together. I've been thinking more about the vanity light, trying to decide what I want to do there. So go ahead and watch along. I'm just going to put this on a little fast forward with some music, and you can see how it's coming together.